emotions. Let me put the thumbnail up on the screen. Ultimately, our goal and our objective is to really improve in the area of our emotional intelligence. My focus today is to help us understand how emotions can ultimately alter how we view our day, how we view other people, and even how we view major events in our lives, right? So, in this session, I really want to discuss why it's so very important for us to improve our emotional intelligence, how we could begin to develop more awareness around our attitude and overall mindset, as well as how we can utilize our emotions in a more positive and productive way. I want to break down some things that we could begin to do on a day-to-day basis that will assist us in maintaining an effective state of mind. If you would, to begin this conversation, family, comment below: emotions carry power. Emotions carry power. They carry power and they carry influence. And we want to leverage this power in a productive way, again, so we can stay in alignment with our vision, our purpose, and our goals. Now, in this chapter that I'm currently in, me and my wife, we have been blessed with three amazing children, right? We got three kids under 5, toddlers running around. And as you can often imagine, there is never a dull moment. A few weeks ago, my daughter, she's the youngest, she was pulling one of these cabinets open. Had no business being in that cabinet. Marie, I see you in the building. Great day to you, sis. But had no business being in that cabinet. I said, Mila, you need to stop. Get out of that cabinet. You know what she did, family? She looked at me and didn't take her eyes off of me and walked in my direction. Didn't say 2 words, yanked her hand back and slapped me on my thigh. I'm like, what is wrong with girl, right? Little sassy little queen and princess hit me because she was upset that her father had told her, you can't gain access to something that you really want, but that may hurt you, right? There's some things in there that you don't need to be entertaining and things that you don't need to be investigating, so to speak, because you're a toddler, right? But when we see a child that does something like that, right, we may have a few words with them, but in many cases, we may laugh that situation off. Then my boys, right, they get upset when they don't get things their way, right? They're playing with toys and they get frustrated. And what do they do when they get frustrated? All the parents that are in this broadcast, you can often relate to this, right? They throw their toys, they're throwing tantrums, they're upset. Like they're having a moment, right? And when we look at the child, we say, okay, that's acceptable because they're a toddler. But we're going to walk them through this. We're going to guide them through this. We're going to encourage them not to allow their emotions to get the best of them. But granted, we don't take it too seriously because we understand there's a process that they have to endure to learn how to maintain a positive emotional state and make sound decisions. But the problem begins to arise, family, when we carry those natural tendencies over into adulthood, right? Because it may be cute for my toddler to hit me on my thigh, but what happens when you get upset with your coworker and they tell you, hey, there's something that you shouldn't be doing? You can get into a lot of trouble if you walk over to your coworker and you slap them upside the head, right? I know many of us have imagined this, nonetheless, if we're honest with ourselves, right? But if you do this, you may catch a case. Or like my sons, right? Like you may get frustrated that something's not going your way. And many people find themselves in adulthood actually in these adult tantrums, upset, frustrated, disappointed, discouraged, throwing things around, angry, right? And in many cases, it can cost you some opportunities. It's very important, family, that we begin to understand how emotions can impact how we show up. Emotions can impact our behavior. They can impact our decisions. They can impact the choices that we make. Like I mentioned earlier, emotions can impact how we relate and connect with others. And if we don't master this skill of developing our emotional intelligence, what will often happen is we will find ourselves being victims to our emotions. And when your emotions are in control, in many cases, you may not end up into a destination that's really going to be thriving, full of success. You may give up on your goals and your dreams when you get frustrated, right? You may be disappointed. You may get discouraged, so to speak, and you make a permanent decision that's based upon a temporary circumstance or a temporary feeling in the moment. How many of us have ever been there, right? I know there's many of us that have been guilty, myself included, where you were working towards something and because you got in the heat of the moment, you were frustrated, you were discouraged, you were disappointed. You made a decision that really cost you that opportunity, right? And maybe you stopped taking steps towards those things you were truly passionate about, all because of the influence of your emotions. I read this article the other day, family. It was in 2019. Cairo, New York. Shout out to those on the East Coast. I know there's a lot of people tapped in from Jersey, but this situation in the story took place in Cairo, New York. There was a young lady that was on her morning commute to her place of employment. Now, she had a passenger that was on board as she was driving to her morning commute. And as she's driving, she ends up landing this car and driving it into a ditch, losing control of the vehicle. The ambulance begins to arrive. Police department is there. Fire trucks have pulled up. They start looking at the situation, totaled the entire vehicle. Now, fortunately, the young lady, she only walked away with a few cuts and bruises and hurt her leg just a little bit, but she survived this very detrimental and tragic accident, right? And as they began to look at the situation, they understood that there was only one car that was involved. They began to observe and see what was going on. Like, hey, there's no rain, there's no snow. How did you lose control of this vehicle? Now, what ended up happening was that she got distracted by the passenger that was on the inside of her car. But mind you, if you're paying attention, she was the only person that was on the inside of her car. What happened and what the situation was that there was an 8-legged creature, a spider, that decided to carpool with her this morning and began to walk on the dashboard. And as she's driving, she saw this spider. And in that moment, family, that triggered an emotion. And what often happens, studies have been proven, right, that show when we experience certain emotions, our cognitive abilities begin to diminish and reduce, right? Like ultimately, some emotions can dumb us down where we're not thinking clearly. And in this moment, she experienced a huge amount of fear and anxiety. So she wasn't thinking logically and rationally in that moment, ended up driving her vehicle into a ditch, all because of this fear that she had. In many cases, it may have been a phobia that she had about these spiders, right? What am I getting at? Well, we may look at the situation and say, that is outside of this world. That's crazy, right? For someone to drive their vehicle into a ditch because of a spider. Well, maybe you're not driving your vehicle into a ditch because of a spider, but you can relate to what she experienced. There's many people that are driving their goals and their dreams and their gifts and their talents into the ditch and not making it to their destination because of something that they're afraid of. That emotion of fear can often stop us from moving our lives forward and ending up in the place that we envision to go. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is this, family. If you're taking notes, write this down. Don't allow your emotions to overpower your intelligence. Let me say that again for the people in the back in case we miss this. Don't allow your emotions to overpower your intelligence. We all experience emotions, every single one of us. It's a part of life, right? It's what actually enhances the experiences that we have. It's what helps us connect with others, right? We all experience emotions, the good emotions, the great emotions, the elevating emotions, the emotions that make us feel amazing and feel alive. And we also feel and experience those emotions that often put us in mental states where we're not at our best. Maybe it's anger, maybe it's bitterness, maybe it's frustration or discouragement or disappointment. But ultimately, we all can relate to this thing that we label to be emotions. Every leader has experienced emotions. In fact, every leader, every successful entrepreneur, every person that's working towards a goal, we've each experienced moments where we felt like giving up. We felt like quitting. We felt like throwing in the towel. We felt like throwing our hands up and saying, I can't take another step or do anything more because I don't know if it's even worth it, right? And maybe somebody tapped into this broadcast is right there. I came here on this stream to remind you of the importance of you improving in the area of your emotional intelligence so you don't give in to those moments and you stay on course with your goals and the vision that you have for your life. But again, what's going to help us do this is building a new level of awareness and understanding around emotional intelligence. So to go down that path, let me preface this conversation by saying this. Emotions are not something that happen to you, family. Emotions are made and created by you. Let me repeat this again. Emotions are not something that just happen to you, right? Emotions are made and created by you. Let me break this down. Ultimately, we experience things in life, and everything that we experience, we attach a meaning to, right? And it's the meaning that we attach to that experience that often dictates how we feel. This is why two people can experience the exact same thing, but feel different types of ways, right? Two people can go to the exact same concert, and have a completely different experience based upon the meaning that they attached to that concert. Two people can go to the exact same restaurant, have the exact same waiter or waitress, right? Even eat the exact same meal, but have completely different experiences based upon the meaning that they attach to that experience. So ultimately, what we experience is not based on reality. It's based on the meaning that we're attaching to what it is that we're experiencing. And this is very important for us to understand, right? This is where we start generating feelings on the inside. It's the meaning and the interpretation that you're attaching to the experience at hand. Does this make sense, family? Put a number 1 if you're picking up what I'm putting down during this conversation. Put a number 1 in the chat. So ultimately, again, let me break this down. What we experience, we look at the situation and we attach a meaning to it. Once we attach a meaning to what it is that we're experiencing, that meaning will create a feeling. And then that feeling ultimately will dictate our state of mind, which determines whether we react to the situation or we respond to the situation. And there's a difference between the two of those. We'll break that down during today's conversation. But ultimately, this is all driven based upon the meaning that we attach to the experience at hand. So if we find ourselves in a disempowering state, right? If we find ourselves overwhelmed by some negative emotion, so to speak, an emotion that doesn't necessarily put us in the best frame of mind, most people try to just look at the situation and they blame the circumstance, and this is why I feel the way that I feel. What we have to learn to address is the meaning and the interpretation that we're attaching to the experience at hand, right? And this is the key to us developing our emotional intelligence, us becoming aware and mindful of what we're placing the meaning or how we're viewing or looking at a situation and the meaning that we're attaching to the experience at hand. So when we find ourselves in these moments, here's number 1. Step number 1 is we have to identify the signal, so to speak, or the emotional state that we are in, right? Look at the situation and identify, hey, I'm angry about this, right? Or I feel bitter about this situation, or I feel defeated, or I feel disappointed right now. I feel a bit discouraged right now. What most people do, sometimes some people can run away from their emotions. They suppress their emotions, right? They don't acknowledge or recognize their emotions. And what often happens is because we bottle up so many emotions over an extended period of time, something happens and it snaps. And we explode from within. And this leads to a number of different issues, right? Mentally, physically, in so many ways, we can be impacted by suppressing our emotions. So number 1 is identifying how you feel in certain situations, identifying what the signal is. Because of the essence of time, we don't have time to really break down all the signals that are involved in different emotions, right? But maybe in a later broadcast, we'll dive deeper into this topic and talk about how anger is often an indication that a rule has been broken, right? Or fear is really an indication that you need to prepare for something, right? Or anxiety is you anticipating the future and being intimidated by that and understanding what signal is being communicated to you, right? So when I use the word signal, let me preface it by saying this, family. When I say signal, ultimately we have to understand that, like I mentioned earlier, emotions do not happen to you, they're created by you. In other words, emotions are not dictators, they're indicators, right? Many people allow their emotional state to dictate their decisions, but we have to understand your emotions are communicating information to you. And it's our responsibility to unpack that information in a productive and an empowering way so that we can move our lives forward, right? So let's say, for instance, again, I feel that I'm angry. I feel that I've been violated in some way, right? I've identified the signal. I need to address the issue at hand, right? Have I truly been violated? Or do I need to change my perception about the situation? Or in some cases where I feel disappointed, I feel discouraged. That's often an indication that, hey, what you're doing is not working. You need to switch up your approach, change your method. What most people do is, I'd rather sit in this negative emotion, so to speak. I'd rather be stuck in this situation and how I feel rather than evaluating the situation and ask myself, what can I do differently to create a different outcome or a better result? That emotion is giving me information. I must listen, right? Which leads to the second step that I want to offer us, identifying what the signal is, identifying the emotion that you're experiencing, and then change your state. Everybody comment below, change your state. Because Albert Einstein once said, you can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created it. Ultimately, you have to learn to change your state when you find yourself in difficult emotions, right? Things that you can do, go for a walk, right? Take a bath, take a shower, speak to a friend, connect with someone that has your best interests in heart, right? Change your mental state. Because we often make decisions in certain emotional states and we create certain outcomes. Like you behave differently when you're excited and when you're grateful in comparison to when you're angry and bitter. That emotional state that you're in will often dictate what you see, whether you view solutions, how you're looking at the situation, how you're going to decide to move forward. So it's very important that when you find yourself in difficult emotional states, you change your state in that moment by any means necessary. That's number two. Number three, not only should we change our state, but also evaluate the situation at hand. I understand what emotion I'm experiencing. I need to change my state. And like I mentioned earlier, I need to process how I'm feeling in a productive way, right? Again, if we had time, we break this down, but ultimately there's two steps that you can take. You can either change your perception or you can change your procedure. Again, you can change your perception about the situation or you can change how you're moving forward, the decisions that you're making to create that certain emotional state. But ultimately, as I'm wrapping up this conversation, because again, time is of the essence, I want to make sure we're all busy building our visions and not just locked in on social media. But ultimately, what I'm saying in this conversation is this. The key to us improving our emotional intelligence is to become more mindful of how we're feeling in any given moment. Become more mindful of the thoughts that you're allowing to influence you. Become more mindful of the emotional states that are driving your behavior. Get curious about your feelings. Don't run away from them. Don't shy away from them. Don't avoid them. Don't suppress them. But instead, be open to what they're communicating to you. Yes, right now, you may feel sad. You may feel depressed. You may be grieving. It's time for you to unpack how you're feeling and ask yourself, what meaning am I attaching to this certain experience that's giving me this certain emotion? Because again, that emotion is providing you with valuable feedback and valuable information. It's up to us. It's our personal responsibility to start looking at it in a mindful manner, being aware of how we're feeling, and then using that information in an empowering way so that we can move forward. I'm hoping this is making sense. But as I wrap up this conversation, if you don't get anything else out of what we've talked about, remember what I mentioned at the top of this conversation. Don't allow your emotions to overpower your intelligence. Your intelligence is your ability to process things productively, to evaluate situations in a productive manner. Begin to look at how you're feeling. Begin to look at your situation and ask yourself, what meaning am I attaching to what it is that I'm experiencing that's giving me this emotion that I'm currently facing? And understand, there's no such thing as a bad emotion, right? I know there's some uncomfortable emotions, some things that we don't necessarily want to feel, but it's really giving us valuable information that we need to utilize in a more productive and empowering way so that we can move our lives forward. Because all of us are working towards something. Every single person that's tapped into this stream, you got a vision. You've got something that you're trying to aim to create or build or accomplish or achieve, right? Whether it's a personal goal, your professional goal, whether it's a financial goal, your career, whatever the case may be, you're going to experience some moments when you feel rejected, some moments when you feel discouraged, some moments when you feel disappointed, some moments when you're afraid or anxious, some moments when you may feel sad or lonely, or you may be grieving, you may get upset. And if you're not careful, these emotions will stop you in your tracks and stunt your growth and your progress as you're working towards your vision. And there's so many people, like I mentioned earlier, that make permanent decisions that are based upon temporary circumstances or temporary feelings because of the meaning that they attach to that situation. What I'm encouraging us to do is to improve in the area of our emotional intelligence and process that information productively so that you can stay on track with your vision, your purpose, and your goals. Don't allow your emotions to overpower your intelligence. If you slid into this broadcast and I was unable to give you a shout out, be sure to comment below. And again, if this is your first time, or maybe your first time in a long time, be sure to comment below first and foremost with the number 1, then place your first name afterward. Got something in my throat. Again, put a number 1 in the chat and then place your first name afterward. If you found value in this conversation, put some fist up in the chat below. Again, let your boy know that you were picking up what I was putting down. Raphael, I see you, champ. Great day to you. Hope all is well with you. Looking at the upside of down. I like that, Mia. Be mindful of my emotional state at all times and always find the positive in every situation. And that takes discipline. It's easier said than done. But I believe having the understanding that you can find value in every single experience will set you up for success. That's the key. How can I profit from misfortune? How can I learn from my mistakes? How can I overcome my shortcomings, right? Chatney, don't allow your emotions to overpower your intelligence. Excellent. I see the fist coming up. If you found value, please share this out with the people that you care about. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button. It goes a long way. And then share this link out with at least 2 people that you know. Facebook, you know what to do. Share this out. LinkedIn, please share this out. And those watching this on X, please retweet this with those that you're connected to. Dr. Sandy DeLise, glad to have you tapped in live, sis. Hope you found value in today's broadcast. Who else do we have that's new to the stream? Again, be sure to put a number 1 in the chat and then place your first name afterward. Thank you for this message. Absolutely, Angel. I see the fist up, chat, and appreciate you. Excellent. As we wrap things up, if we have yet to connect on other social media platforms, what are we waiting for, family? Be sure to connect with your boy. I'm at the number 1 Gibson, all on different platforms, including Instagram, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and then youtube.com/David Gibson. And then if you're on LinkedIn, be sure to connect with me there. But also take advantage of all the free resources that are available on the website. That's at elevationisAmust.com. Again, all the resources there are for the free 99. I got ebooks, downloads that you can take advantage of. Also, there's the online shop where I've got some other books that you can pay for, but you get a lot of value out of. So be sure to tap in there. Again, at elevationisAmust.com. With that being said, family, let's wrap this thing up because you got dreams to catch and success to create. So we each got to get busy being great. Again, I'm hoping that you found value during today's conversation and broadcast. Thank you each for tuning in and joining us on today's stream. Again, let's take what we discussed and apply it to our lives, right? That's the key to personal transformation, right? Information and inspiration is not enough. You got to take information, inspiration, and apply it, right? That application is what leads to transformation. So right now, something that we discussed, put it to use, utilize it, right? Apply it to your life so you can build progress towards your goals and build the vision that you have in your mind and make it a reality in your life. If you're going through a difficult time or a challenging season, just remember that this too shall pass. Be encouraged. Like I mentioned earlier, do not make a permanent decision that's based upon a temporary circumstance. I think somebody needs to hear that this morning. Don't make a permanent decision that's based upon a temporary circumstance. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your vision. Don't give up on your goals. Don't give up on that family member. Don't give up on your career. Don't make a permanent decision that's based upon a temporary circumstance. Stay tapped in, right? In a later broadcast, we'll talk about how we can utilize our emotional state in a very empowering way that will help us stay in alignment with our goals and our dreams, but also being emotionally invested with the goals that we've established for our life. We don't have time to unpack that today, maybe in a later broadcast, but ultimately we can leverage that same power of emotions to help us carry ourselves through those difficult moments and those challenging times so that we can build the life that we envision. But as it relates to today, don't you give up. Don't you give in. Instead, I encourage you to give your all. And if nobody else tells you that they love you today, remember, your brother from another mother, D1 Gibson, has nothing but love for each and every single one of you. With all of that being said, family, let's wrap this thing up. Today, my hope and my dream for every single person watching this live and everybody watching this on the replay is that you be effective, be successful, that you live with passion this week, and most importantly, 3 pounds to your chest. 1, 2, 3. Be powerful. Thanks again for tuning in, family. We'll be back at it next week, Monday morning, Eastern Standard Time at 10 a.m. I'll see you all there. Have a phenomenal week. Peace.
I can see my shot is here, so now I'm gonna take it. Gotta get up, get out, time to stand up, get loud, time to rise up off the floor. And I'm stronger than ever now, can't hold me down no more. I'm waking up, 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 I'm waking up. So I'ma do it right now.